Welcome to Punk Love and Compassion. In this episode, we have Andy Caro from the Seattle area on. Andy's been involved in the greater punk rock umbrella for a long time. And I'll let him get into all of that, but he's played a band called March of Crimes, a bunch of other things. Housekeeping stuff, you probably just heard my dog barking. She does that. My microphone will pick it up. I also have a bunch of chickens, as I've said in previous episodes. They will sometimes gather at the back door and peck. And my lovely wife has a bunch of her people over, and they are building little libraries that you put in your front yard. So they are building that in the garage. So you may hear the drills and conversations, and they may be walk in and out as well. But that's how we do things around here. And lastly, the group of podcast things I belong to is called the Alabama Take. So if you would or feel like it, jump on over to the Alabama Take, go to their website. I think it's alabamatake.com, or look it up, whatever. They do a bunch of podcasts all around like pop culture. So there's stuff on sports and movies and books and Star Wars and a bunch of stuff, because they would all appreciate it. I also do another podcast over there with my son, and we do it on sort of the McFap umbrella, and McFap stands for mythical, cryptid, fae, alien, and paranormal. And he would be really stoked if you check that stuff out. So with all that said, Andy, would you like to introduce yourself a little further than what I did?
Well, first of all, I'm digging the whole thing you're doing. I think it's a great vibe, and it's a neat angle on doing podcasts. So thanks for having me.
Yeah.
I don't know what all we're going to talk about, but yeah, I got involved in punk rock in Seattle in about 1980. There's a lot of side stories that go along with that, but I've been playing in bands since pretty much 80, 81. Like you said, March of Crimes is kind of the one a lot of people know, because there's a couple famous people, down the road became famous that were in that band. And most recently, I played for 4 or 5 years with The Accused, which is kind of a notable Seattle splatter rock band, too, for about 40 years. So I've just been friends with those guys forever.
Cool.
Gotcha.
Do you remember what the first sort of punk song you heard was?
Oh, man. Kind of tough. Punk song. So
or punk adjacent.
Yeah. No, I got you. Trying to think. So I had a neighbor that was like 3 years older than me. He went to the University of Washington. He was a DJ at the station there. KCMU back in the day was the first, because it was a college station. They played punk rock, new wave, all that. And he gave me my first mixtape. And it was mostly new wave, but I know there was a Dead Kennedy song on there. So this would have been like 1980. Okay. I don't know if it was Holiday in Cambodia or what it was, but it'd probably be a tie for that or a Sex Pistols song. Would probably be my first, like, whoa, what the hell is this?
Okay, fair enough. I mean, both great introductions.
Oh, yeah.
So from hearing sort of that first song, like, how long did it take for you to realize that there was a scene or a community?
It was pretty darn quick, I gotta say. Oh, man, how do I go? Well, I go backwards a little bit. So, like, I was the kid that listened to Kiss. Like, I went bananas for Kiss, and they were the first band I ever saw in 1978 at the Coliseum here in Seattle. But I liked Cheap Trick and Alice Cooper and Black Sabbath and all these just kind of off-center things you weren't hearing on the radio as much as other bands. My friends didn't want to listen to them. It was just like, okay, whatever, this stuff's kind of cool. So as soon as the punk rock thing hit, after that mixtape, it was whoever was around at the time. In quick succession, it was the Sex Pistols and Bad Brains. Well, little bit later, but they were in there somewhere. Dead Kennedys, Black Flag, Circle Jerks, all the stuff that you would expect in the real early 80s. There was a couple of kids in school. I graduated in 81, and that's about the time we started our first band, just before I graduated. So there was a couple kids that kind of introduced us to stuff, and then I went to my first show in Seattle. It was the Circle Jerks, the Farts, and Napalm Beach, or Death Beach, I think. I'm like, oh, and it was I'm on an island, go across on the ferry is a few blocks away, go right there. I'm like, oh man, this is it. This is super cool. A small scene with normal people my age that, I don't know, it was an instant connection.
And so then from being like realizing there was a scene, like then what did it look like for you to start like participating in the scene?
Yeah. So the first band my neighbor and I started, this kid, Steve Nelson, who I'll talk about a little bit more in a minute, he turned out to be a insane drummer. So he was a trumpet player, but we knew like he would air drum. And we're like, that kid can play drums, man. Just put a kit in front of him. And sure enough, he was a prodigy. So I joined. There was another guy that kind of liked, seemed like he liked the punk rock stuff. And he could play guitar. He had this actually really cool 70s Flying V. And so like I went out and got a checkered Explorer, like we're gonna have a band, and I start playing that thing and I'm learning kind of quick. But he's like, dude, we need a bass player. Like, you go get a bass. I'm like, okay. So I got a bass. Next thing you know, I'm a bass player. And then so I graduated in the summer of 81. And the fall of 81, we played at the high school at lunch. And like people were throwing food. It was awesome. So we had a really good time there. But then he graduated, and myself and the drummer Steve joined forces with another kid who was trying to start a band, and he had a guitarist that had just moved to Bainbridge, and they were both 15, so they were younger than I was. And that was Ben Shepherd, who wound up in Soundgarden later. So that was March Crimes. We formed that, and we played Seattle pretty hard for probably 3 or 4 years and did some really great shows. Not everybody would come through Seattle, but when they did, everybody that was in the scene would go there. And we got to play with GBH and party with them the next day. And that was a momentous thing in our lives.
Yeah, I bet, especially like at that age.
Yeah. No, and actually there's a little backstory to that I want to talk about, where there's a documentary being made right now about the Metropolis, which was the all ages punk rock venue in Seattle in Pioneer Square. And what's weird is, the memories of it are there. Oh, I must have been there for years. We went to hundreds of shows there. It turns out the place was only open for like 1 year, but so much went through those doors. We met so many people there that I'm still friends with, like Buzz Melvin, and, everybody that became a band later was there as kids. And so we played there. We got to work there, work the door, work the lights, whatever. Like it was just this free for all. Super fun, just a great community. And that guy started promoting bigger shows, and that's where we saw the flyers for GBH. And we're like, hey, could we open for them? And they're like, yeah, okay. We're like, no way, what? So we opened with the Fastbacks, who were a kind of a noted Seattle band that already had a record out, and they were pissed because they had to open for us. Wow. Honestly, they shouldn't have been on the bill, but no knocks to them, but they just were really hardcore, so
yeah.
Anyway.
God, that's awesome. Cool. So I guess what about like punk rock, the scene, all that like really attracted you to it?
I think, again, I was like, musically, I was a little bit of an oddball. I'd started skateboarding in 1976, not knowing that this scene would heavily be involved in skateboarding, right? Or between artists and musicians and skaters, it just like that was all so tied together. I couldn't believe it. So I had been a comic book collector when I was really young, and there was a shop in Seattle near Pike Place Market called Time Travelers. And I kind of lived there because it was punk rock records, t-shirts, comic books. And I was there every weekend, and those guys got to know me pretty well. And one day I skated in, like I'd literally skate into the shop, off the sidewalk. And the owner approached me and he said, hey, I want to sell skateboards here. Could you help me do that? And I'm like, sure. And we became pretty much the biggest skate shop in Seattle. So it was also about 2 blocks away from the Showbox, which is a historical venue for bigger punk rock and alternative bands back in the day, and still is. So every band that came to Seattle came in our shop on the weekend, from Skinny Puppy to, Black Flag, or you could probably name 100 bands that came through in those mid 80s that I worked at the shop. So that formed my life. It really did, because, everything I loved was in this one place. And again, I met so many people that I'm still friends with, and so many good memories. So it just kind of gave me a grounding as to, all this was meant for me, it felt like.
Yeah. And that's, I think, with a lot of the people I've talked to, we've all been interested in all these different things. And then sort of like the finding of punk, and then like, oh, there's other people like me who's interested in stuff other than the mainstream. And this is where, like, this is the collection of the various oddballs.
Yep. That's exactly it. And, being the sort of the outcast, I was also a runt in high school. I probably should have held back age-wise as well because I graduated on my 18th birthday. Luckily, I grew up right next to the high school, so I would leave for 15-minute break. I would leave for lunch. I would try and take opens. Like, I didn't want to be there because I didn't really have any peers. I had a couple friends, but I was just sick of it. And then, it's weird once you kind of for me, finding punk rock and going to these shows where everybody's an equal, everybody's friendly. Everybody thinks, oh, okay, everybody's slamming and trying to kill each other and bleeding and all that. I'm like, no, it's not like that, dude. Everybody's having so much fun. I have photos of people just laughing and smiling and having the best time of their life at these shows. It was a happy thing. So to be part of that boosted my confidence, I think, immensely in a lot of different ways that I didn't even think about. Playing on stage in front of people, that's something I'm sure when I was younger, I wouldn't have imagined I could ever do, right? And then it became this thing, like, it was just so much fun. It still is, right?
Yeah. Oh, it's a blast.
It's a kind of high that, and you're not, it's not like you're Led Zeppelin up there with a million people yelling at you or whatever, but it doesn't matter. If you're having fun and they're having fun, like, it's a win.
Yeah. There's one of my buddies, I interviewed him on this a bit ago, but he's in a band out of Athens, Georgia called Beat Up. And the first time I saw them play, he was like, look, here's the deal. Like, you're at a show, so magic is going, and I'm going to paraphrase it a little bit. He said, so you're at a show, so some kind of magic is going to happen here. But the closer you are to the stage, the more magic is going to hit you.
Right.
So like, move up, be part of this.
Yeah.
And, definitely from that too. So now, I say my own version at our shows, but also, being the age as we are, but even the ages we were, like, something happened at that first show we went to, right? Like, something happened within our souls to make us come back to that next one.
Well, I think one thing, you just sparked a memory. The other thing about punk rock and alternative music is that you can meet your heroes because they're regular people. So sitting on the side of the stage when Public Image Limited was playing and had a sound problem and talking to Johnny Lydon for 5 minutes. What the hell? Like, you're not going to do that to your average rock star. Or partying the next day with GBH for 8 hours after you played with them. Who are your heroes? This guys with tattoos on their necks in 1983. And I'm like, yeah, I think one of them was a teacher. One worked at the Postal Service. I'm just like, these are normal people, and they're just out to have fun. And they're approachable. And that kind of makes more of the community. I don't think I've ever ran into a punk rock anybody that's turned their shoulder and not wanted to talk to people. And whether it's on, some people actually want like an autograph or something, but just to have a conversation.
Right. Yeah. And that happens so frequently.
Yeah.
There are assholes everywhere, right? Like,
yes, there
are. There are assholes everywhere. So of course, this doesn't apply to 100%, but in my opinion, it applies to such a greater percentage.
Correct.
Than, other scenes or genres or
I agree. Yeah. Take Glenn Danzig out of the equation and you got a lot of friendly people.
Definitely. Oh, God bless him. Or whoever bless him. Yeah. Going back to one of the other things you said about just giving you the confidence to do things that you wouldn't have necessarily before.
Right.
Like, very similar to me. I look back at all the things I've done and wouldn't have done most of it without being involved in punk rock in some way.
Yeah.
From just like and primarily from like the DIY ethos that it taught me. Like, I've started multiple businesses, some more successful than others, but most of them really had no idea what I was doing. It was just like, hey, I know I can do this because other people like me have done this.
Sure. Plus the fear, just give it a shot. Like, what?
Right.
Too many people have fear, and sometimes that's imposed on you at a young age. I think I was really lucky. I actually had really older parents, and being at the end of 6 kids, like way at the end, like I was the accident.
Mhm.
Almost anything went. Like I couldn't believe the stuff that my dad supported. He was just a positive guy as an influence on music, and it was basically go do anything you want, don't get in trouble, be home at 6.
I had almost like the completely opposite of that,
Oh wow.
where I was pretty much on my own at 15,
Oh wow.
and wasn't really living with my parents full time at all when I was 15. And through that, it was like, well, hell, like, here's what I've done.
Nobody's holding you back.
Yeah, right.
Because there's
Like,
nobody
yeah.
to. That's common though too, because I have plenty of, oddly enough, girlfriends from the
Mhm.
past whose parents just beat them down like for not being normal or what have
Right.
you, right? Like, you can't do that. That's all these evil things, all the BS that happened in the Reagan era and all that. But and some friends as well that just, they conflicted with their parents because they were so against everything they wanted to do.
Mhm.
And they were good for them for leaving and going, you know what, screw it. I'm just going to take care of myself and figure it out as I go, DIY.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know.
And then as far as trying stuff and doing stuff, it's like, what's the worst that's going to happen?
Right.
It doesn't work. Okay, cool.
Next.
Whatever. Next.
Yeah, right.
Exactly. What's worse? Because it doesn't work.
Right.
So what have you lost? Right.
Yep.
Yeah. And I just think I think that too many people, and even myself, still sometimes get caught up on that. Like, oh, well, what if this does fail? It's the security of the safety net versus, the freedom of failure.
It changes with age too.
Yeah.
And sadly, that's society, right? You
Mhm.
get married, you have a kid, you have oh, I'm responsible for someone else. Oh shit. Okay,
Very
well,
much
that's going to change how I attack things a little bit. And yet, I still like same thing. I've been in business myself 33 years. Actually, I have 2 businesses and no regrets. Wish I did it earlier because a lot of people like tried to hold me back. Oh man, you can't. That's, you're going to fail. Like it's scary out there.
Uh-huh.
Blah, 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 blah. Plus people reprimanding me for leaving the business I was working for. Like I'm indebted to these people. I'm like, screw that. Anybody that's worth their worth needs to go find themselves. And if they want more, why should you hold them back?
Right.
And they might fail. I could have failed. And maybe what I'm doing is a failure. I don't know. But I paid the bills all these years and had a lot of fun. Did what I want when I want to go do it for the most part.
Uh-huh.
If it's go to a punk rock show, which I did last Wednesday. It's hard to go to work the next morning on a Wednesday, but Thursday morning, but I'm glad I did it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And I think it's also like, as a parent, it's what are we teaching our kids? And one of my many revelations as a parent was I had just sold a company I had. And so I was pretty comfortable, but I got tapped to open like an in-home senior care company in town. And just through negotiations, basically the company gave me a franchise. Like they just gave it to me. And they were paying me a salary. And I went into the negotiations like, well, this isn't something I really wanted. Like, this isn't something I need to do. I have no emotional attachment to this.
Right.
So if it doesn't happen, I don't care. I had that. I was also coming from a place of privilege because, like I said, I had just sold a previous company and did decently well on that sale. So I was pretty comfortable in life. And so I negotiated a really, really nice salary.
Nice.
And the reason why I'd sold the previous company was it was just ended up being too much time away from my family. So I owned a rafting company in Colorado, and we live in Alabama. And so every year I would head out beginning of April to get everything up and going. As soon as school got out, my wife and kid would come out. They'd stay out for the summer. They'd come back home when school started, and then I would come back when the rafting season ended. And it was just too much time away from family.
Absolutely. Yeah, if you prioritize that, which you should, good on you.
Right. So I sold it, started this thing, really successful. And I was at my son's soccer game, and I was on the phone, and I was making sure that my staff had shown up to their appointments, and I was going through all this, and I was halfway through all this. I was like, what the hell am I doing? like, yeah, I'm physically present here, but I'm not mentally present. And what am I role modeling to my son? Like what am I role modeling? Like the importances of life.
Yeah.
Like I'm not role modeling my own ethics and morals. And so his game was over. Got home, called the owners of the company. I was like, I'm done. And you talking about it? I was like, yeah, I'm done. This isn't for me.
Just had an epiphany. Sorry, I'm out.
Yeah, pretty much. I was like, yeah, no, this is. And they're like, do you realize how much money you're going to make? I don't care.
Yeah, I mean,
I'd rather have time. They're like, yeah, but if you work really hard for the next 3 years, you'll have all this money, and then you can have all the time you want. It's like, I can have all the time I want now.
Right. Way too fast. Yeah. I know you're a good dad, and I enjoy the posts that you share with your son. And I'm a little jealous because mine's a little older now, and I don't get to see him as much. And no regrets on spending time with him and doing really cool things when he was young, and then watching how he turned out, and how much of a mini me he is. As far as music and art goes.
Yeah,
just like absolute treat. So I would have lived in the van if I had to not give that up.
Yeah. Well, and also, I mean, social media wasn't really a thing when you were raising him, but like,
right.
I mean, I know a lot of things you did with him, and yeah, I mean, I think you're an awesome dad as well.
Oh, well, thanks. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, because people are always like, well, you got lucky, and there is luck. I mean, I understand. Like I have friends that have had, say, 2 boys, and one went just left field, and the other one turned out like super cool and family oriented, all that. Yeah. So you can put the same energy into children. They don't always absorb what you want them to, but you do your best.
Right.
And in our cases, I don't want to use the word lucky, but it's turned out really good. A for effort, and it's paid off.
Right. Definitely. And I mean, everybody thinks their kid is cool.
Yep.
I hope everybody thinks they're.
I hope so. Cool. Right. I say the same thing.
But God, I mean, my kid is just really he's just really an awesome, like empathetic, compassionate kid.
It is a reflection of the parents, though. I mean, a lot of it has to be, right? Because you can put a child in a horrible situation, they're probably not going to turn out all right.
But yeah, it's part of it. And definitely one of the things I think of more frequently now than I used to is, what am I role modeling? And what kind of bar am I setting?
Yeah. It doesn't end, by the way. He'll move out and you'll still want to be doing that.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And good. I mean, I hope it doesn't, know?
It won't.
But yeah, I think because for me, like, I didn't have anybody teach me how to be a parent. And similar to my wife, like she didn't grow up exact same as I did, but definitely not in a fully functioning household, right? So neither one of us really had a parent who taught us how to be a parent. We were just taught a lot of what not to do.
Sure. Yeah, that's easier.
Yeah. And so being taught what not to do, there's still a lot of other things that, not to do as well, right? So, yeah. So it's going through all of those. Okay, here's another thing not to do. Okay, learned it.
You're right.
Hopefully we can get closer of how we teach what to do.
Yeah.
With my son, I try to be very honest with him, and when I mess up or do something wrong or do something I could have done better, I'll talk to him about it. We're like, look, here's what happened. I know you're upset. Looking back on it, I had a role to play in it. My decision would have been the same, but I could have explained it differently, or I could have approached the situation differently. And
right.
And here's how it is. Parents aren't perfect and kids aren't perfect, and we're all just trying to do it. But the way we do it better is together and through talking through our shortcomings.
Yeah, I hate to say it. I think that's a modern parenting thing. And who knows what modern is? Is that from the 60s up, 70s up, 80s up, 90s up? Yeah. But admitting, and what a great thing in life is to admit you're wrong, say you're sorry. This is for anything, not just your children, right?
Yeah.
And man, it's amazing how many people can't do that. I don't know what it is, like, a masculinity thing, or were they just raised that way where their parents were never freaking wrong? Like iron fist, what I say goes, do this, do that. So yeah, I've been called out by my kid in the past, and I'm really happy for it. I'm like, you know what? You're right, man. I was being a jerk. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. And for me, some of the families I lived with, definitely had more of a positive impact on me. But even while I was living with them, I still wasn't their kid. I was like, this kid who showed up and slept on their floor for a week, and then I moved on to somewhere. I might show back up a week later and sleep on their floor for another week. It was various like friends' houses I stayed at. But still, like I wasn't able to experience them parenting me. It was sort of like this sort of outsider watching, oh, this is what a more fully functional house looks like. But I think, again, just going back to, I guess, the whole foundation of this podcast is, it really was that punk rock community and the ethos and belief system that taught me. I think that mostly influences my parenting technique now.
Yeah. I mean, when I first got into it, so let's say early 80s, that was a pretty weird thing for society, right? I remember people just looking at me and want to beat me up. And I'm like, what? Like, I got an earring and
No.
I'm buying a burrito. What are you doing? Like, leave me alone. Yet that stuff didn't hold me back. Like, oh man, I'm going to get killed if I keep doing it. It didn't.
No.
I was my own person at that point, moving forward with enough peers supporting me, enough positive influences. I mean, for instance, the guys that I worked for at Time Travelers, Mike Vraney in particular was one of the owners, and he passed away, but he had been in the punk rock thing forever. These guys are older than me. He managed Bad Brains, Dead Kennedys, Tex and the Horseheads, TSOL. He'd been around, and he started that company, Something Weird Video. And so after the end of that shop, I went with him, and that's how I got started at San Diego Comic-Con in 93, setting up a booth, selling weirdo videos, meeting his old freaky punk rock friends. And it was a support system that was just there. I didn't realize that was what was going on. But these older people, yet he was an equal because he was my friend.
Yeah.
That were a positive influence in, oh yeah, go do that. That's cool. Eventually collecting toys, right?
Yeah.
That the support system of that and the friends. And I'll interject a funny thing that an epiphany I had a few years ago. I've been going to Japan every year and doing a show in Tokyo. And I've met a whole bunch of toy dealers and friends of my friend Billy Galaxy in Portland. And more than 50% of them were punk rockers. Like, there's something about the toy community, especially in Japan. And I'm talking not just men, I'm talking the women too, the wives. Like, oh, she was a bass player in this band. She was a drummer in that band, and I'm like, wow, this kind of makes sense in a weird way. It's like an extension of the skateboarding thing. Like, why do so many people like the same stuff?
Well, and I think it goes back to what you originally said. I don't think people get involved in punk rock as deeply as they do because of the music. It's more like, here's this collection of oddball people that don't fit anywhere else.
Yes.
And yeah, we all like this music, but really we all like these people.
Yeah. Well, it's a like-minded thing.
Right.
Beyond the music, because a lot of it initially was political and I mean, literally have fun, and so, yeah, it's a communal thing. It's communal thinking. And that's the attraction of the people, the group and whatnot. Yeah. And that still goes on. And it's also like, fuck the police, that kind of shit.
Right. Yeah.
Fuck the establishment. Always good to keep that going. But yeah, I don't know. Your head changes too when you realize that you're this weird little minority sect in the world. Like, too many normal people out there, whatever, but they can go do their thing. They function the way they function, whatever they're doing. They're great. But again, I've met like you and a zillion other people, so many cool, fun, like-minded people that I respect, that just because we came together on something loosely based with that. And then it turned out like, oh yeah, I've been in bands. I know this guy, I do this, blah, blah, blah. I've toured, whatever. All of a sudden there's like another level of camaraderie that just follows you through life. I mean, it's not ending, which is great, right? Hopefully I've got a few more decades in my skate shoes and I just continue to meet cool people and cool music, art, whatever. It all kind of flows together.
Yeah. One of the things that's sort of linked with it is Super 7's, not logo, but sort of their motto, maybe. I don't remember it word for word off the top of my head, but it's basically like, growing up, we were into skateboarding, punk rock, monsters, the stuff nobody else was into. And we realized nobody was making what we wanted. so we did it ourselves.
Did it ourselves, right?
You know?
Yeah, that's right. We both know Brian, so
Yeah.
yeah, that's where he came from. And hey,
Right.
guess what? We came from there too.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, skating and punk rock and monster movies.
Kaijus and monsters. And yeah, I've been over there and seen his skateboard collection. I was going to do some work for those guys, and he didn't have time to hang out, unfortunately, but I spent a lot of time in that warehouse just ogling a massive collection of skateboards that I touched almost every one of those at one point, you know, in the years of selling those decks.
Right.
But yeah, that guy loves all the same stuff we do.
Yeah. And again, you know, and we all came from different places within the country, and you know, somehow again the magic of punk rock found each other, right? And like found these like-minded individuals on the opposite sides of the country.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that like touring, I mean, you know, I've done pretty much the whole US and most of Europe, and yeah, it doesn't matter where you are. Jump out of the van in Florida, and all of a sudden, you know, some dude's got a skateboard or whatever. And you're skating and talking, and you're instant friends. You got their phone number. Oh, we're gonna stay at their house tonight. That's the thing too. I don't think a lot of people. I don't know. Is that a unique thing to punk rock? I mean, I remember when Green Day was a kid band and they came through Bremerton. My buddy's like, "Oh, you can sleep at our house." Yeah. Okay. And hey, guess what? They're famous now.
Right.
You know, but they probably haven't changed. They probably still have the same morals and likes that they did back then. I think that's another thing about people into punk rock and alternative music. Some people change with fame or whatever. And that doesn't seem to be the case with the people we grew up with.
No, it doesn't. Like, yeah, I mean, yeah, the vast majority that I can think of are still just cool people, down to earth, and even the quote unquote more famous ones that I know.
Right.
I think they tend to be a little bit more guarded when they first meet people, but then once they know you're legit,
right?
You know, like
it's a half-hour conversation after that.
Right. You know, we're talking about, you know, bootleg like Fear 7 inches or
there you go.
But yeah, it's and I don't blame them for being more guarded.
Oh, sure.
Like they're famous. You know, I'm sure people are trying to get stuff from them all the time. And then there's us, and we just want to talk about like weird toys that are super hard to find or weird records that, you know, are bootleg.
Well, think of collecting. So, you know, whether it's collecting old skateboards, collecting records, collecting comics, toys, you know, collectors in general, again, for some reason, the punk rock world, that seems to be a linear thing that I've met people through or still know people through. And I don't know why. I don't think that's the same with the normal people like Journey. I don't know, you know, just it kind of seems a little bit unique to that. And a kind of a side shoe to what you were just saying is when I started to go in Japan, you know, people are a little more guarded. It's a totally different society. So you don't just walk up to a stranger, even if, let's say they had a cool t-shirt. It's not really cool to just walk up to them and start talking. They might get a little bit freaked out. But if you're introduced through a mutual friend and there's some comment like, oh, hey, so-and-so played in this band or is looking for these toys or whatever the thing was, all of a sudden you're instant friends because you're likable. You have some commonality. So they're not as fearful of a stranger. You're not a stranger anymore in like 10 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, now I also think like punk rock really encourages collecting
for some reason.
So here's my argument for it. Because punk rockers in general, don't have a lot of money. So when they're pressing a record, they're like, hell, we can only afford to press 100 of these.
Right.
Or like, hey, we can only afford to press 200 of these. So then it becomes, oh, well, I really like this band and there's only 100 of these records and I want these songs. So like they create that supply and demand
inadvertently
sense of scarcity. Yeah, right. Inadvertently, because that's just what we can afford to do.
That's right. And that's the way it always was. I mean, in Seattle, they didn't even have that much money. So I remember the first Accused album was, hey, let's do an album together with their friends, the Rejectors. So they only did half a side, you know, right? So
right.
Money was definitely, that's why you're making your own flyers, you're making your own zines. It was all like my bandmate, he made a cool zine and you call people and you're trading cassettes. And like you said, meeting people across the country, you're sending a cassette to some guy in Wisconsin.
Right.
Like, most people think that's crazy.
Yeah. Videotapes of shows or.
Oh, that was
Yeah.
a big deal, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, now you can just jump on YouTube and find everything. But
Right.
prior to YouTube, it was, you want to see whatever band on the East Coast, you want to see whatever band playing at this venue and wherever. That's not on the East Coast, so we can't see it.
Right.
I know a lot of people on the West Coast were looking for videos of bands playing at like 9:30 or CBGBs. So there's a lot of trading back and forth.
Yeah, it's always for my era, the old guy era. It was so infrequent you would ever find a video of anything. Like when Decline of Western Civilization came out. Like that was a must watch. Like, oh my God, we're going to see these bands, on film in a theater. Like, what? That's crazy. But then the other side, so there was the money thing. Even back in the 80s, a rock band, probably couldn't afford a ticket to a rock band. You go to a punk rock show, like it's $1, $2, $3, donation, nothing, just walk in, because the bands weren't there necessarily to, I wonder how many bands, maybe the bigger ones had riders, some of the big venues, but just punk rock clubs or, super sketchy clubs that were like in a parking garage or, there was a bunch of short-lived weird spots. Like, oh, my dad rented us the back of this warehouse. We're going to have a show. Well, it was one of those because something happened. The cop showed up, but the money wasn't the be-all end-all back then.
Right.
That wasn't the goal, I don't think. If you get paid, you'd be like, whoa, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Can buy some gas and get home on the ferry.
Yeah. Yeah. Or, if you're in a band, like, ideally you could make enough money, get gas to the next town and, buy dinner or something.
Yeah. All big bands in the beginning talk about that. And I haven't seen that video. I think there's a documentary called Get in the Van or something. Maybe Dave Grohl did. But certainly my buddy Chan Channing was the first drummer for Nirvana. And they talk about that where they're in the van driving across country and they're not sure they can get to the next town. And they're certainly not eating or, spending money on food. It's all in gas. And it's like, what? Really? People don't get that.
Yeah. There was a while in the late 90s, early 2000s where I was booking shows. Whenever a band contacted me, I was like, look, I can't guarantee you much because this was also in Wyoming. I was like, but I can guarantee you enough money to get to the next town. I can guarantee you a place to sleep, but it's going to be, on my floor.
Yeah.
And I can guarantee you food because I worked at a bakery at the time. So at the end of the day, like anything that was day old, I got to take home for free.
Dude, you're a great promoter.
Right. And like this is what I can guarantee you. And most of the bands like, yeah, awesome. Let's do it.
Better than most. Yeah.
Yeah. Cause I'd give them bread and donuts and cookies and, whatever was left over in the shop, I got to take home. Nice. I would say most of the bands I booked came through multiple times. And so one of those bands was Sis and Fish. So after the shows, we were hanging out and they actually stayed at one of my friends' houses. There were two of them living there. We were all hanging out with them and that their house was much, much nicer than my crappy apartment. They're hanging out and just talking and just people. And somewhere in the conversation, I realized like, oh, you're the Subhumans.
No way.
Yeah. It was like, I mean,
Okay.
I was like, oh, I wasn't a Sis and Fish fan, still not, but a huge Subhumans fan.
Yeah.
I was like, what the hell am I doing? Like the Subhumans are not sleeping on my floor, but on my friend's floor, and we're here hanging out.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And this was, I don't know, 99, 2000.
Wow. Really?
Yeah.
That recent. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool that it still happens that way.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if they'd still do that, but at that point in time they were.
Right on.
Yeah. But again, it's that sort of the camaraderie in that community that got us all from one point to the next. I think whether it's a band on tour or tapes or music or I know even for me, it was like earlier in my life, I struggled and it was my friends getting me from one day to the next within the greater punk community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of support. I've got friends right now that are still going through rough life situations, and we've been roommates, bandmates, more times than I can imagine. You need to live on my couch for a couple months? Come on over. Like, he's a brother I never had, right?
Yeah.
And it's all based accumulative of time and things that we've gone through together, you know, growing up, growing old or whatever. But like, yeah, that's great. That's really cool. I mean, it all started whatever with a party house and a skate ramp in the backyard, and let's play some Motorhead covers on Halloween. And the, you know, it literally started like that when he was 18, I think, and we're still super good buds. And that's not an exception. I mean, I've got plenty of people that I met over a sticker. It's crazy, but it's awesome.
Yeah. And I think it's, for a lot of people, I think it's, some of it's paying it forward, but also it's returning a favor, right? And not necessarily returning a favor to somebody, but it's, hey, like when I was struggling, somebody helped me out.
Yeah, do unto others.
And I see you struggling, so what can I do to help?
You know, so many things like that seem like common sense, yet people don't go through the steps to do that. Help your fellow man or help a friend. Or it's easier to, you know, oh, that's an inconvenience, I'm going to turn a cold shoulder. Like, no, man, you might be in that same need at some point. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I just don't know too many, you know, I do know people that passed on. The one phenomenon I would say that I have not, this is the thing I've just noticed in 4 decades of, it's like most people that got into it and were into it just kept, they still are. They are the same people. And I don't know if I'm guilty of being the same person I was back then. I don't want to think of it that way. I'm like, no, I figured it out. What makes me work and my friends, what type of friends I want and need. And I'm just heading in that line. It works. And you just don't see a lot of people that all of a sudden started wearing suits and a briefcase and headed off in some other direction.
Right.
They just didn't, you know, like I like to joke that black Levi's changed my life. Like when I discovered those in probably early 80s at Pike Place Market, I'm like, oh my God, this is great. I've got a uniform I can wear the rest of my life. Just wash all my clothes in one pile.
Right. But, yeah. I mean, I definitely still dress the same as I did in high school. Yeah. You know, and for some of us, like there was an on-ramp and the thought of exit never existed.
Right. It just makes sense. I guess it is hard to explain to someone.
Yeah. But there are some people who like, they see the on-ramp and they take the on-ramp, but they see, oh, I can just get right back off. Right. Because there are definitely people who like dip their toes or go through a phase or whatever.
Yeah, I suppose. Right.
You know, but I mean, there are a lot of us who are, this is it. You know, and we grow and mature in our
responsibilities
and whatever that changes. But I think we still mostly keep that original mindset and approach. Because really, like, we've based our lives on the ideals of a bunch of kids.
Right.
Discord was big for me. Like when those guys were all writing music, they were 17, 18 years old. And I still live as best I can by that ethos, or even in West Coast with those LA bands. So Black Flag, Circle Jerks, or I mean Dead Kennedys or further up, but still those West Coast bands, like they were all writing songs and they were
exactly
right. And so for whatever reason, like we grabbed onto that and it was like, and we're still doing it. You know, we may have less hair. It's naturally a different color now, or you know, whatever. But still hanging on to that belief system of like we can make the world a better place.
Yeah, it was an easy thing to grasp that. Again, your peers of your age were doing these things. You like start a band, like oh, okay, like start a band, and then instantly start playing shows. Like that. It's not the normal trajectory of most other types of music, you know? No. And it's totally okay to kind of suck at the beginning. You know, I got 3 chords, man. I'm playing them forward and backwards and you know, whatever. And then some people turned out to be naturally talented and could write some pretty catchy stuff and others didn't. But even if they say they were playing music and they exited playing music, because I played it on and off for different reasons over the years, and never been in a band that was huge, you know, like, oh, this is my life. I'm making a great living doing this, but I still do it because it's fun.
Yeah.
And my friends still do it because it's fun. When I meet new people, I've got a neighbor up here behind me that we're probably going to do a project. He's a drummer. He was a SoCal guy back in the day. And played with a couple bands down there, kind of bigger bands or whatever. And he's like, sure, man, let's do something. And he helped me do
Nice.
some recording stuff. Yeah. So you're always going to meet more people, I think, in our kind of world easier and just have a quick conversation. You may have experienced this at, okay, you're a dad. You have to go to these school functions, right?
Yeah.
Man, that was torture for me all those years, is going to these society, things.
Mhm.
I'm super cool to be there for my kid and all that, but the adults I didn't want to interact with. But every now and then there'd be that one person that would come up, and it would obviously be like, oh, looks like somebody I can talk to. And then all of a sudden you're just off in the corner yakking for a while over something that we're into, be it music or movies or whatever. But it was obviously they weren't,
Right.
And not to knock those people, but it just wasn't. I was just like, oh God, this is torture.
Yeah, definitely for me too. And that's one of the freedoms I really enjoy for working for myself, is I can go on the field trips. I don't have somebody saying, oh no, you can't go because you only have so many hours to leave. Like, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
This past fall, my son had a multi-day field trip to an oceanography learning center. So we were down there, and I have a shirt it has like some of the Peanuts characters on it, but one of them is saying, I still miss Joe Strummer. And all the other parents are in their sort of professional parent gear, right? And I'm dressed how I always dress, and I still miss Joe Strummer. One of the other dads came to me, and he's like, you like the Clash? I was like, yeah. It's like, so do I. Yeah, and then it was like 30-minute conversation, and lunch is wrapping up, and we're supposed to go somewhere, and the teacher's like, hey guys, like, kids are leaving, you got to go with them.
Right, but I just made a new friend, man.
It's like, no.
No, that was a funny thing that I didn't see coming. It was another one of those things like, oh wow, this could be part of this sucks. But then you'd find that one other person,
right,
out of the crowd. He just the black sheep flock together or something.
Yeah. And but also, jumping back a little bit, you were saying, don't know how to play music, whatever sort of band. I think that also went into like a lot of other art forms as well, like photography or art.
Oh yeah.
Zine making or whatever. It was cool. You want, like, do it. You want to do it, and we're going to support you. Well, I don't know how. Who cares? Figure it out.
I don't know.
Right.
All of a sudden you discover your style, whatever that thing is you're doing. Like, whoa, you've got a cool style. That's you.
Mm-hmm.
And you're being supported for it.
Yeah.
I mean, there wasn't a lot of judgy stuff going on that I recall.
Yeah. I mean, there's always the asshole, right?
Oh yeah. Of course.
But in general,
that's a minority.
In general, the people were there to encourage you on. If whatever you want isn't there, do it and make it there.
I think there's a funny thing. People don't really understand the Pacific Northwest as far as the music scene. Everybody knows what the grunge era was, right?
Yeah.
Go backwards 10 years, because that's where all these guys came from. Mm-hmm. We were a million different bands together. We were all these different shows together. We were going to skateboard contests together. We were just friends before all those people got famous. Plus, we're just isolated. Very few bands came through, so we were very appreciative of the ones that did. And that's why I think the music has always been so strong in the Pacific Northwest, because we were just kind of this own little cesspool of people accumulating together. Because they're like, you could just go to San Francisco. Dude, that's 13 hours. Going to San Francisco. Yeah. You might go to Portland. It's 4, and we did. But that was it. I mean, we go south. I mean, that's your only choice. So when this crazy thing happened later where we got Nirvana and Soundgarden and Alice in Chains, and not a huge fan, Pearl Jam. I've got friends in that band. But, they became famous. I think we were less likely to go, oh man, those guys are sellouts. We're like, this is freaking awesome, man. Everybody loves our guys.
Yeah.
This is cool. Those are our friends. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter. And for the most part, again, going back, I don't think most of those guys, it really didn't change them.
Yeah.
Well, like some rock stars,
right.
Where they're just all of a sudden it's the sunglasses and limousines. And
yeah.
There's a lot of those guys that still do a ton of stuff for our community because we were the roots. And again, when it comes out, I'll turn you on to that Metropolis documentary, because all those people had something really positive to say about how that community changed their lives and either started them or reinforced that they could go in the direction that they were going. And this is okay.
Yeah.
You're going to be supported by friends and family, and well, friends are your family at that point, right?
Right. Yeah, very much so. Well, yeah. And y'all had, I'm sort of grouping Pacific Northwest in together, but
Yeah.
y'all had Discord Records is stuck in my head. It's not Sub Pop, right? You had Sub Pop. So you had that.
So Sub Pop popped up.
Yeah. Most of their bands were from that area at that time.
100%.
Yeah. So you had all that going on. But then also, like the whole Riot Girl movement started out there. Right?
Yeah, it did.
Yeah. So, I mean, y'all had a lot. If you look at the history of sort of the very broad punk rock umbrella, like y'all had a lot going on.
I would almost go back. There's a lot of argument for going way back to the Wailers, the Monks, eventually Hendrix, which I don't know, punk rock? No, but a visionary that's doing his own damn thing, didn't give a crap about anybody, and not everybody liked it.
Yeah, but I mean, punk rock, no, because like it wasn't around then.
Right.
But was he?
But no, right. Well, Sabbath, I mean, hey, we're
right.
Heavy metal. Well, the word hadn't even been invented yet. So they were just some guys doing their own grungy thing, and you could, a little bit of Deep Purple, and, there's some heavy bands starting to form before, a decade or more before metal, before like Metallica dropped, and we were like, what the hell is this? And embraced it, at least, and most of my peers, this is new, this is heavy, this is cool. Like, it's a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And how are we going to incorporate a little bit of that into what we're doing? And a lot of guys did that with Soundgarden and Melvins. And that's the cool thing about music too, is just that it's a continuous evolution. The music my son makes, I can't even put my finger on it. And they do what the hell they want. Like, they'll have 12 songs that are all completely different styles because they just want to do it for fun.
Yeah.
There's no goal. It's kind of that he started in a punk band. I'll talk about him for a minute. So, in high school,
talk about like,
we're going to start a band. Okay, cool. And, I'm a bass and guitar player. And we got all these guitars and basses. Like, well, I want to play drums. Like, are you sure? Like, dad's a bass player, and okay, fine. So I'm 100% in. Like, I clean out the garage, I carpet it. Like, we're going to have a band, I'm band dad. And they got kind of good. And they opened for my band. I'm like, holy shit, this is great.
God, that's awesome.
Neighbors weren't pissed. And then their singer kid guitars had to move to Seattle. I'm like, oh, what are you guys going to do for a singer? He's like, well, I'll sing. I'm like, who's going to play drums? He's like, I'll do both. Like, what are you talking about? So he does both. And then he sings with some other band wearing a Wednesday Addams outfit. I'm like, okay, this is great. Like, I am digging it.
That's awesome.
So he goes off to college so that kid started around August, whatever year that was, goes off. And on Halloween, he sends me an EP, 5 songs. I'm like, oh, rad. You found some guys to play with? He's like, no, I played all the instruments. Like, what are you talking about? Like, you're putting me to shame, kid. So then he puts out 3 albums, and now he's got 2 albums with a buddy, and there's some really good stuff on there. And I love that it doesn't sound like anything else. It sounds
what does he call his thing?
The current thing is called Four Golfers.
Okay.
And they're on everywhere. They're on every platform.
Gotcha.
And there's like, look up a song called, oh, Jesus, I don't know. There's a whole bunch of them. I'll think of one to recommend to you. There's one that sounds like a Psychotic Devo song that I really am fond of. Nice. There's some really super mellow stuff on there. And he does all the writing and singing. He actually had this girl that's a friend of theirs sing. He's like, you know what? You got a better voice. You should sing this one. I'm like, holy crap, that could be a pop hit. Like, she's got a great voice. So, it's easy for a musician dad to support their kids. And that's part of the whole influence thing, back to, hoping your kids, you do the best you can and exposing him to as many different kinds, not like, oh, just, you got to listen to this. It's like, no, man, I'm going to listen to Lounge. I'm going to listen to Exotica, and now he's over in Japan buying city pop records and turning me on to music that I never would have heard, that I really, truly like. And it's all kind of off sync stuff. It's not the top 100 for sure.
Yeah.
But I'm like, that's great. He's kind of got the ear. He's got the flavor. It's turning me on to new stuff. And it's encouraging that there's young people out there making whatever the hell they want, doing it their way, not caring about, oh, we need to do it this way. Like, no, you do it the way you want it. Like, figure it out.
Yeah, I'm really anticipating, excited for like the day my kid starts a band. Because we've had him in music lessons from pretty early on. So he learns ukulele, and like he's about to like outgrow his piano teacher. And
Nice.
She's like, look, like we may have a month left together, then he'll be like beyond my skill. So his next instrument, like he wants to learn how to play, is the accordion.
That's a tough one. Oh my God.
Yeah, but it's like, yeah, and it's like, God, do I really want an accordion? But yeah, do it, do whatever. And that's what we told him is, early on, like, whatever instrument you want to play, we don't care. Just
the more the better. My mom played piano, and I know I had quote unquote lessons when I was really young, and I don't really remember it.
Yeah.
But then when I picked up a guitar for the very first time, I could kind of play it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's sort of a math thing. And then when I play the bass, I'm like, well, this is even easier. It's got less strings. Like, so then, it just made sense to me. And then I could play a few other little things. I can't drum for shit, but I can play some other instruments. And with him, he had the piano lessons a couple of times. And then he took some drum lessons. And it turned out like, he can just kind of do that. And then he wanted, well, I'm going to learn ukulele. Like, okay. And I bought him a bass. Okay, play that. I want to play the mellotron. I'm like, what the heck is that? And then he plays the mellotron. He plays just a bunch of weird instruments. Like he's even played those metal drum things, like Trinidad drums or something, right?
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah, he did a whole cover on one of those, like first try. I'm like, what is going on here? So yeah, that's awesome. It's the whole like Paul McCartney thing. If you can learn all the instruments, you're gonna you can get easier to get in a band.
Right.
Right. It's hard to get a band with 3 drummers, but yeah, that's awesome. I'm looking forward to when your son gets something going.
Yeah. Well, and his tastes are pretty varied as well. So like he really likes, like, I don't know the official name of the music, but it's like Viking, not Viking, but like dwarf metal. It's like these like sort of bands that are sort of similar to like Iron Maiden, where they're singing about being like dwarves and mining and stuff like that, like Tolkien.
Sure.
Go listen to it. But then he also like really, really digs like Weird Al.
Oh my God, my son looks like Weird. Yeah, he is a huge Weird Al fan.
Yeah. Right. And then I walked in the other day and he wasn't, because he usually listens to music on headphones, just because we have a small house and we have a lot going on. But the other day I walked in and just had music playing and he was listening to the Wish album by The Cure. I was like, are you listening to The Cure? He's like, yeah.
I listened to The Cure this morning.
Yeah, I was like, no, please. Yeah, like, don't be ashamed of listening to The Cure. Like, one of my favorite bands.
Right.
Yeah, like, this is awesome. Yeah. Definitely not very into punk, but there's time.
Odd stuff. Yeah, you never know. And it is a development. Right. Back to this one particular friend that we were been bandmates and friends and lived at my house more than once in my travel trailer or whatever. His son turned out to be kind of a prodigy guitar player, and Steve's a guitar player, so his dad is quite good. But he was taking lessons from my buddy down the street, another punk rock guy, Bradley, who's like the local guitar teacher or whatever. And it was like 3 years, and Bradley's like, I got nothing more to teach this kid. But socially, he was really an outcast. Like he could not find his people all the way through school. So no girlfriends, like only, I think his senior year, he met a couple guys that were a little bit like-minded. He was a little more metal, but he liked punk rock and metal. And I'm just like, dude, you got to be patient. You're going to find some dudes that are completely on your wavelength. You're going to get in a band, it will happen. Shit, not only did it happen, he's on a label now. Moved to Olympia. Yeah, and I'm just like, he's such a happier person now. Like he found himself, he found his people. And that's what we did.
Yeah.
And again, I think being like, for whatever reason, he felt like he was an outcast. If that's people treat you because you look different. I mean, that goes on all the time, right? You look different, you act different. You like things that maybe they don't like. And then you're the minority. And all of a sudden, like it gets funneled down pretty small. And the next town off the island, pretty conservative. So I think that it narrowed his field dramatically. Yeah. I'm so glad to find that he is at ease with himself and seemingly having a good life. And it's kind of through a parallel of what we went through.
Well, taking this full circle, I think that's one of the things we talked about earlier is within this greater umbrella it is, like, I think the problem for a lot of people is that they don't realize that community exists. They don't realize that there is that community of like-minded outcasts because they're stuck in a very conservative town and they're the only ones with a pink mohawk, or you know, they're
Exactly.
the only one, you know, they're stuck in like super ultra religious family, and they're like, yeah, I don't, like, not for me. But they don't know anybody else because their entire community is built around that. They go to religious school and like religious family and
Right.
church. You know, they don't know any community outside of that. But it's theirs. It's maintaining hope long enough to find it.
Right. Yeah, I think society has probably ruined a lot of good people that could, what they could have been.
Mhm.
Some of that could have been geographical. If you're in Ohio in the mid 80s, or what if I'd never moved? So I was born and raised in Alaska and moved here when I was about 9 or 10, the early 70s. If I had not left Alaska, man, I don't think my life would have been anything like it's been.
Yeah.
I just don't, because I wouldn't have had those in a small town to boot. It's not like I was in Anchorage, because I had a friend from Anchorage who was kind of a punk rock guy, as it turns out, and he got like into the psychedelic furs, and he tells me stories of that. But it could have really neutered my life
Yeah.
to have just been in a place where I didn't get the exposure that I did to all these things that we love. They just weren't there. They weren't,
Yeah.
they actually weren't there. So
Mhm.
at least now, with the internet and all that, kids can, well, they can find anything, right? So maybe they hear something through a friend, or just randomly see something on YouTube or whatever it is. And that's great. It's great because it's opened the horizons and given them options. And I can think of friends in Seattle that came to Seattle because that was the big city. They're getting away from, and one guy was Jeff Diction, or Jeff Ament. His band moved from Missoula because they were the only thing in Missoula, right?
Yeah.
They're like, hey, there's other people in Seattle, man. We're gonna freaking move out there and be dishwashers and play punk rock, And then obviously some of these people, it led to much larger things.
Yeah.
And him in particular, he's an incredibly grounded person, and he's put up the money for and did the work behind at least 30 skate parks.
Oh, wow.
Mostly on native land. There's actually, I think it's next weekend, there's a huge art event that's being put on, like skaters from all over going out there. There'll be a lot of videos from it. It'll be fun. But
Yeah.
there's a big art show, there's punk rock going on, there's skateboarding going on.
Uh-huh.
And that's all from a guy that got famous, came from a tiny little town where he had no future,
Right.
if you want to put it that way, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's not your goal, is to go out and make your way in the big punk rock world. But at least guys that wanted to be happy and go pursue what was making them happy at 17 or 18 years old.
Right.
And that's not uncommon. That's why I think, in the Northwest, Seattle, there's no point in going to Spokane. They're just as hurting as any other little town.
Right.
But you go to Seattle, you go to Portland. I mean, that was kind of the two options. Olympia, like you said, spawned a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
That's just our neighbor to the south a little bit. And there was a college there that a bazillion musicians went to, including my son for a minute. He went there for music and bailed out and went back to California. But yeah, we were a bit of an oasis.
Oh. Yeah. Okay, so to be respectful of your time,
yes,
I'm going to start wrapping this up. What gives you hope?
Man, what gives me hope? Well, a lot of that comes through living through my son's eyes and ears, right? Because again, being a dad these days it has been for the last 25 years. I mean, it's the coolest thing I've ever done, right? And I love all the stuff that he exposes me to. And I still find, the College Station that I was talking about earlier is now kind of a bigger station that was funded by Paul Allen of Microsoft for a while when he was alive. And they do fundraisers, but they play what they want. And I listen to that pretty much most of the day at work. I get exposed to stuff that I never would have heard. And so new music, because I'm music 24/7. I think you're the same way, but like I get up, I got to hear music. I drive to, there's music in the car on the way there. I got work headphones that have music in it. Everything's got Bluetooth now. It's super cool. I got Spotify. I can hear something I've never heard and pull up their whole, everything they've ever done. So music's always going to be kind of the biggest thing in my life that makes me happy and puts me in a zone and keeps me going. And I'll probably be starting a new band thing here in the near future, hopefully. And that's, another level of that.
Mhm.
So as you get older, can't skate as much, body doesn't work so much. There's all the reality things kind of sinking in, but
Things start to hurt more.
I'm a few years older than you. But yeah, music's forever,
Mhm.
and toys are forever.
Yeah.
Those could go on for, there's a lot of enjoyment in all the different things we do there, buy, sell, and making friends, honestly.
So to segue into the next question, music thing, what are you currently listening to?
I'm surprising myself with, like, there's a bunch of stuff that, yeah, and I guess again too, because like I've gone backwards. Like I love stuff that I never would have loved at the age and the era. Like
Mhm.
I love Steely Dan.
That's funny. So the last guy I interviewed, also from Pacific Northwest, also mentioned Steely Dan.
So I went backwards and opened my eyes and ears to stuff that I would have poo-pooed really hardcore. When you're doing punk rock in the mid 80s and your girlfriend wants to listen to Duran Duran, you're like rolling your eyes like, what the hell? Man, I'll listen to some Duran Duran. Those guys were good musicians. I mean, they're
Yeah.
really freaking
Yeah, they
good.
were.
Or Depeche Mode or whatever,
Mhm.
right? I'd like to say I listen to a huge amount of music, but right now I love Tame Impala.
Okay.
I love Fontaines DC, Amyl and the Sniffers, Die Spitz. I'm sure I'm forgetting some current things, but Turnstile.
Okay.
I would say that Glow On album was the best thing I've heard in decades.
Mhm.
Like, because it's so many different flavors. The one before, A Generator or whatever that album was, that is great because it's heavy and grindy. And that next one, yeah, it's polished. A lot of people, I'm not gonna, it's too corporate or whatever. Like that album is fucking great. Like start to finish. You can hear that Bad Brains DC influence in there,
Mhm.
those guitar solos and all that. So it's got a lot of new flavor that I love. It's got old flavor that I love. A lot of energy, positive vibes, or straight edge band.
Mhm.
Super good. The one that won the Grammy, I don't like quite as much. And I know that the guitarist that wrote that stuff is no longer in the band, but
Mhm.
anyway, so that's kind of like maybe 5 or 6 that I listen to real regular now.
So what do you think people should be listening to?
New music, something they haven't heard before. So, okay, so I just turned 63,
Mhm.
and there's just this prevalent thing with people my age, not so much punk rock, like those kind of friends,
Yeah.
normal people that I associate with that cannot listen to anything that they weren't listening to when they were in high school. I mean, they're just closed-eared, closed-minded. It's amazing. Like if they're not listening to classic rock, it's that or nothing. And I'm like, dude, there's a new great band every fucking month or
Yeah.
week. Yeah, so I don't know if that's from being part of the punk rock thing where you're listening to a variety of music and new wave and
Mhm.
whatever you want to call it, alternative later, grunge, whatever
Yeah.
label you want to put on this stuff. But being open-minded to all these new evolutions of music,
Mhm.
or if some of that's being a musician, but I don't get it. Like I totally don't understand like how you can listen to the same songs for the rest of your life.
I mean, there's so much out there.
It's infinite
Yeah.
at this point. It is.
Well, yeah. And for me, I find people that listen to just one kind of music, like, don't you get bored?
How about
Eh,
people that listen to no music? There
That's
is
wrong.
something wrong. No, I
Yeah.
know people like that,
Uh-huh.
and I'm like, there is something seriously wrong with your head. Like
Yeah.
I cannot relate to that at all. I'm sorry. If
Yeah.
I'm gonna be biased about something, like it's like, sorry, man, I don't know if I can associate with you. Like something is wrong.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
because music is emotions, right?
Yeah.
And when I listen to music, it's like, what do I need to listen to right now?
Mhm.
Like I go through something super stressful and I need to hear something. I need to hear some Pink Floyd or something mellow, or I just need to kind of zone out. I'll listen to Dave Brubeck or
Mhm.
Mancini, something like that, or some nice tiki music or
Yep.
whatever. Or I need to hop myself up. So it's some Turnstile or some Bad Brains or some Accused or
Yeah.
whatever, something like that. So it's very much music is emotions to me of what I need at that time.
Yeah, definitely. And for me, I like a very wide spectrum of music. And there are some really popular bands I just can't get into at all.
Sure.
No matter how hard I try. And for me, it's not like, okay, like these are bad musicians. Like, no, like
No.
they're really good musicians. But going back to what you said, like I want music that makes me feel, And so like if a band doesn't make me feel anything,
I love being surprised.
Yeah.
Like you've got the headphones on, I'm doing something, working on the table saw. All of a sudden I realize like, whoa, what the heck is this? And I got to go over and look at the phone, take a screenshot or heart it or whatever. Cause I'm like, I need to come back to this. I need to explore this. Turns out they only have one good song. Okay. That's fine. Yeah. Or like, wow, they've got a whole bunch of really good stuff. Like who are these guys?
Yeah. So there will be some editing stuff in there, but whatever, we'll make it work.
Absolutely. So sorry about that.
You're good. Okay. So I mean, we've talked about a lot. Is there anything else you want to talk about? Any stories you want to share about anything before we wrap this up?
I think I just touch base again on, I love what you're doing because as far as mental health and punk rock and, maybe how that's helped me, I would just say, again, it's not just the music, it's the scene, it's the people camaraderie, the acceptance that helped form who I am. I'm really appreciative of that I found my people. Yeah. I found things that I liked. I wasn't beaten down over it. And I can live a life enjoying the stuff that I knew I liked back then, I still like now. I think that's kind of a unique thing.
Yeah.
Because life's tough, man. There's a lot of up and downs, I mean,
yeah.
Went through hell there for a few years with, music, not just punk rock, but, everything that was involved, everything that got me involved in that. Be it friends directly or just music, it can get you through a lot. That's kind of my therapy, I guess.
Oh yeah, as well. Yeah. And to me, it's this very, like the greater community is this very magical thing to me because I have friends all over the world that I met through going to shows and playing music and collecting toys and whatever. And I know no matter where I am in the world, even if I don't know anybody, all I have to do is like do some digging and find a record store. And through that record store, I'll be able to find like-minded people.
100%.
But it's just finding that record store first. And then, going to whoever's working and say, okay, where's there a show tonight? And then getting to that show.
Yeah. And it's not like you're going to have to go stand in the corner by yourself. Because if you don't approach somebody probably will approach you.
Definitely.
Beat over a t-shirt or friendly face, like whatever. Yeah, no, that's a good point. It is a global community. It's not a regional thing. And that was fun to realize that there are, scenes, as we call them. And at this point, it's kind of the whole world has a scene, I guess.
Cool. Okay. Thank you, my friend. Oh, if somebody wanted to find your music, where would they go?
Oh, my music? Well, so oddly enough, the March of Crimes demo that we did in 1983 and gave to Jello Biafra, and he gave it back to us, which is pretty cool. He sent us back that tape, and we are making a valid attempt this year to get it on vinyl. You and I talked about that in the past, but it looks like we're super close. I've actually talked to all three members, and my son will be doing the packaging.
Awesome. Well, come August, September, I may be in a place to financially help with that again.
Right on. We'll see if it gets dragged out that far, but if not, you'll just get a copy in the mail.
Yeah, no, that would be great. Thank you, my friend. I really appreciate it.
Thanks again.
Everybody, thank you. Thank you for listening. I appreciate everybody. Until next time, we are Punk Love No Passion.